Okay, I'm here at the Fantasy Flight booth. We're going to get a little bit more in-depth on Battlelore 2nd Edition. Actually joined by Brian Engelstein of Ares Project fame. He's going to give us a little bit about what some of the differences are between this and 1st Edition and how this one kind of works and everything like that.
Thanks. So this is 2nd Edition Battlelore, and as you can see right off the bat, it is much more fantasy-themed than the original, which was a little bit more realistic, a little bit of push. It is now in the world of Tyranoth, which is where all of the rune games take place, and Descent, and all the others. So it has the Athuk and Dakan and all the other units. In fact, many of these units are the same units you can control in Rune Wars, albeit on a larger scale. So the main differences between this and original Battlelore has to do with scenarios. The original game had a scenario book in which you could pick a mission. This one doesn't. It has these scenario cards. Each faction has 7 of these in the opening set, and they have your special abilities, victory point conditions, and how you set up half the board. So both players will take one of these, set them against each other, and that makes your full map. So it means there's a lot more opening combinations and a lot of ways to play the game. In addition, there's no more base armies. You get to build your own army using a point system, and then place them on the board secretly, so your opponent doesn't actually know where you're starting your armies. Building on the armies themselves, we've also taken the lore deck and split it in half. So while there used to be one lore deck for everyone, now each faction has their own unique lore deck. So the Dakan are defensive humans, so their abilities tend to be more defensive and tricksy, while the Athuks tend to be more offensive. So you get things that suit your army.
Okay.
On the combat and gameplay side, we have changed how combat works. Instead of having to do with who you're attacking, it's now who you're attacking as. So if you're a melee unit, you're now just looking for swords, ranged units are looking for arrows. That's it. No more color coding, no more looking at who you're attacking.
Right. So it's based, the dice are based on the attacker, not the defender.
Dice are now based on the attacker.
Okay.
It's a lot simplified. We changed some of the rules on that. Right. In addition, you no longer score points for just killing things. Points are now scored for holding victory points and completing objectives, which means the game turns into less of a scrum and is a little bit more tactical.
Okay.
So those are the big differences.
And then you got your same deck of order cards there? Is that the traditional left-right?
This is the traditional Command and Colors order deck system.
Cool.
Albeit with the Battlelore style special cards.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, and this would be instantly familiar to anyone who's played original Battlelore or Memoir 44 or any of them.
Okay.
A lot of the basic games should still feel similar.
Right.
But the differences are definitely enough to consider this a new game.
Okay. Okay. And it looks like the models are pretty big.
Yes.
I think I've read that they were 28 millimeters or something.
28 millimeter scale.
Okay.
Yes. So you can see the models, the level of detail put into these. This is my personal favorite, the Riverwatch Rider.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just, I'm a big fan of the models. They're absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Well, thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.
Happy to help.
Okay, Brian was happy enough to sit down with me and play a quick little demo game. Pretty interesting thing, just some other little tidbits that I learned. The units have some different special abilities here. You can see they have this icon there, that little crown. So if you roll the crown here, it can activate different special abilities on the units. These blood harvesters were actually pretty interesting. So they actually add dies to their combat roll as they lose units. So you can see normally they have 3 combat die that they roll, but you're going to actually add a die. And then actually when you roll the crown, it's going to frenzy. So you can actually cause 1 damage to remove a figure from that unit. So that's pretty neat. This scenario was relatively straightforward. We had these little spots here where you controlled those for victory points. And then Brian had the human side there, and so he got victory points for controlling the bridge. And then I also got extra victory points for destroying units next to water. One thing that was cool was that these sort of hellhound kind of guys here are sort of like the cavalry. And these guys, when you attack, you can actually take ground and then attack again and things like that. For this scenario, they could actually move into water, which was a little bit interesting. And I didn't get a chance to use this sucker here. He moves really, really slow, but he's a big old cool creature, so very Battlelore-ish. So it was actually pretty fun. You know, you had to manage your lore here, like you do in the original, and try to, you know, either draw lore cards or get lore. We had some different stun effects that happened. I had to spend lore to, you know, unstun my guys and things like that. So it was pretty fun.